Hey everyone, this is Teresa from Base 10 Montessori, and today I wanted to show you a little color experiment that I like to put in my practical life area in the classroom. And what I'm going to show you today is going to involve a few different practical life skills that I've already taught the children in my classroom. So the first one is how to pour. The second one is how to use a sponge. And then the third one would be how to use a towel to wipe up the table. So table wiping, sponging, and pouring are some prerequisites to this activity. Now, usually I say you need a tray or a protector on the table. I didn't have one of those, so I'm just using a lid for a container. It has a little rimmed edge, so it's going to keep this nice and dry. Hopefully it'll keep it dry. Now, if you're working with a 3-year-old, maybe not dry, right? Water's probably still going to get everywhere. So let me show you, first of all, what I have. I have a Q-tip, and I have this little coffee filter. It's really adorable, isn't it? This size comes with the AeroPress coffee maker, so I didn't punch this out. This is actually the size that came, so if you like this little size and you like that it's pre-done, look at the AeroPress coffee makers, and they have these little paper filters for them. So I'm going to put my paper filter right there. And I'm actually going to wait on pouring the water, I think. I want to color first. Now, there's two different activities that I have here. The first activity is just color blending. So I'm going to just get some of my primary colors. You can do anything. You don't have to make a shape. You can just color, right? It doesn't have to be a picture. Now, I wanted to tell you something real quick about markers in the Montessori environment. We don't actually recommend markers in the Montessori environment. I use them very sparingly. I use them mainly for like a fun Friday or perhaps a science experiment. But other than that, I really don't use markers in the Montessori classroom, especially in the 3 to 6 age group, because when we are talking about using markers, really, they're very easy to work with, right? That's one of the fun things about markers, is that you don't have to apply much pressure to draw. And the problem with that is that it doesn't develop the hand as much. And that's why in the Montessori environment, we tend to use pencils and chalk more than markers. And so I highly recommend sticking with chalk and pencils, but it is nice to do a little activity now and then that includes markers, and coloring on filters can be one of those activities. And I'm just sticking with the primary colors here because I want to start getting into color science and how to blend these colors and what happens when you blend them. So markers are very limited in the Montessori classroom, but sometimes you got to have a little bit of fun, right? I'm going to pour a little bit of water into my dish. I'm going to get my Q-tip. Some people do this with eyedroppers or spray bottles. The nice thing about Q-tips is it kind of limits the amount of water that goes on it at once. Not to say they can't get it super wet, right? And they can keep putting water on until they're satisfied with how it looks. And there you go. You can put more water on if you want, or a little bit. And that's how it looks when it's finished. That's pretty cool, right? Now I'm going to put this over on my little drying rack area over here. Let it dry. That's an example of the first lesson. I have a regular sponge here. I also have a magic eraser, just in case we get a little bit too dirty, right? Some of those tough little scrubbies are really hard to get out. So now I'm going to show you one that just utilizes the black marker. And this one I think is pretty fun. And for this one, I'm only going to color the edge. All right, now I'm going to show you just a little bit of an edge here. I'm going to use the same Q-tip, but the opposite edge. Only going to put the water on the side of the black marker. Let's see what happens. You see the blue that's happening down there? Put that black in there, you start to see these other colors coming out as it spreads. There's a little bit of yellow right there, a little bit of blue. It's looking a little bit reddish right there. So there's one you can do with just black, and then you can see some of the other colors draining out from it, which is pretty fun. So anyways, that's the color experiment I have today. Now I have my whole entire setup, so if the child makes a huge mess, then they can clean it up, right? Because in Montessori, we don't just show the child what to do, we show them how to clean it up when they're done. So this is going to go on my drying rack. And now I'm going to take my sponge. And this is looking a little bit dirty, so I might invite the child to go over to the sink and rinse it out, give it a good squeeze. And the water is going to have to get dumped out into the sink. If we need to, we can dry it out. Anything that needs to go in the garbage, I'm going to put in this little cup, and then I'm going to take it over to the garbage and throw away whatever contents need to be thrown away. I'm going to use my towel to make sure that my table and my tray is completely dry. And it is. Now I know I didn't make a big mess, but it's very possible if you put this in front of a child, the water could go everywhere. And this is why it's really important to remember that, you know what, this pitcher might even be a little bit big for this. So you might want to get a smaller bowl. If you want to limit the amount of water they're using at one time, get a smaller bowl or a smaller pitcher so they can only fill it up to the amount that you want. And also maybe draw a line and say only fill to this much. So if you're finding that the water's getting everywhere, there's too much water with this work, exchange this for a smaller bowl or get a smaller pitcher. That really limits the amount of water they can use in one sitting. And as far as the markers are concerned, make sure they put those caps on, right? Put the caps on and everything should go back on the shelf the way we found them. Now, if I'm putting this in the classroom on the shelf, I'll have a little bowl full of these little filters. They can take one at a time. And I'll also have a bowl full of Q-tips, one Q-tip. So I'll show them, come over to the shelf and I'll show them I'm going to put one filter and one Q-tip in this bowl. And then I'll use it. Whatever needs to get thrown away will go back in this bowl and we'll throw it away. We'll dump the bowl out. We can use a sponge to dry it or our rag to dry it when we're done because we want it to be beautiful. And then the pitcher can go back in here and it can just sit nicely. And there you go. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and then feel free to share it with someone else who might enjoy this activity. So like, share, comment below. And if you want to send me pictures, you can always email me. If you had a lot of fun with something that I suggested, always feel free to send me a picture so I can see what you're doing at home too. Let me know how it works for you. And of course, as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you can catch my future videos. And I will see you in the next video.